you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I don't care that they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any of their own. Of all things, I liked books best. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all previous centuries of existence. The scientists of today think deeply instead of clearly. One must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the secrets of this core, but I know that it exists. What we want now is closer contact and better understanding between individuals and communities all over the earth, and the elimination of egoism and pride, which is always prone to plunge the world into primeval barbarism and strife. Peace can only come as a natural consequence of universal enlightenment. Everyone should consider his body as a priceless gift from one whom he loves above all, a marvelous work of art, an indescribable beauty, and a mystery beyond human conception, and so delicate that a word, a breath, a look, nay, a thought, may injure it. I do not think there is any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by an inventor as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding to success. Such emotions make a man forget food, sleep, friends, love, everything. Let the future tell the truth, and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs. The future, for which I have really worked, is mine. All that was great in the past was ridiculed, condemned, combated, suppressed, only to emerge all the more powerfully, all the more triumphantly from the struggle. Fights between individuals, as well as governments and nations, invariably result from misunderstandings in the broadest interpretation of this term. Misunderstandings are always caused by the inability of appreciating one another's point of view. This again is due to the ignorance of those concerned, not so much in their own as in their mutual fields. The peril of a clash is aggravated by more or less a predominant sense of combativeness, posed by every human being. To resist this inherent fighting tendency, the best way is to dispel ignorance of doing of others by a systematic spread of general knowledge. With this object in view, it is most important to aid exchange of thought and intercourse. Invention is the most important product of man's creative brain. The ultimate purpose is the complete mastery of mind over the material world, the harnessing of human nature to human needs. Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation, and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality. I am credited with being one of the hardest workers, and perhaps I am. As thought is the equivalent of labor, for I have devoted to it almost all my waking hours. But if work is to be interpreted by a definite performance in a specified time, according to a rigid rule, then I may be the worst of idlers. The gift of mental power comes from God, divine being, and if we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become in tune to this great power. My mother had taught me to seek all truth in the Bible. The individual is ephemeral. Races and nations come and pass away, but man remains. What we now want most is closer contact and better understanding between individuals and communities all over the earth, and the elimination of that fanatic devotion to exalted ideals of national egoism and pride, which is always prone to plunge the world into primeval barbarism and strife. But instinct is something which transcends knowledge. We have, undoubtedly, certain finer fibers that enable us to perceive truths when logical deduction, or any other willful effort of the brain, is futile. It is not the love you make, it's the love you give. Most persons are so absorbed in the contemplation of the outside world that they are wholly oblivious to what is passing on within themselves. Every living being is an engine geared to the wheelwork of the universe, though seemingly affected only by its immediate surrounding. The sphere of external influence extends to infinite distance. My method is different. I do not rush and do actual work. When I get an idea, I start at once building it up in my imagination. I change the construction, make improvements, and operate the device entirely in my mind. The scientific man does not aim at an immediate result. He does not expect that his advanced ideas will be readily taken up. His work is like that of the planter, for the future. His duty is to lay the foundation for those who are to come, and point the way. He lives and labors and hopes. Most certainly, some planets are not inhabited, but others are, and among these there must exist life under all conditions and phases of development. As I review the events in my past life, I realize how subtle are the influences that shape our destinies. If he, Thomas Edison, had a needle to find in a haystack, he would not stop to reason where it most likely would be, but would proceed at once with the feverish diligence of a bee, to examine straw after straw until he found the object of his search. Just a little theory and calculation would have saved him 90% of his labor. It is not in the shallow physical imitation of men that women will assert first their equality and later their superiority, but in the awakening of the intellect of women. The scientific man does not aim at an immediate result. There is something within me that might be illusion, as it is often case with young delighted people. But if I would be fortunate to achieve some of my ideals, it would be on the behalf of the whole of humanity. The progressive development of man is virtually dependent on invention. When natural inclination develops into passionate desire, one advances towards his goal in 7-league boots. One day I was handed a few volumes of new literature unlike anything I had ever read before, and so captivating as to make me utterly forget my hopeless state. They were the earlier works of Mark Twain, and to them might have been due the miraculous recovery which followed. 25 years later, when I met Mr. Clemens and we formed a friendship between us, I told him of the experience and was amazed to see that the great man of laughter burst into tears. A new idea must not be judged by its immediate results. One has to be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane.